welcome to our fifth reading. So this is the first half of the Marius Returns to Rome story. So obviously in class tomorrow we are going to go over the previous chapters. So just to kind of give you a heads up, basically Mithridates and Sulla are going after each other. And so we're going to kind of pick up with what else is happening around the Mediterranean world. So we start this section, interim eo tempore. Interim, the adverb, right? Meanwhile. So that's a great word to kind of introduce what's happening in other parts of the world. Eo tempore, classic ablative of time, at that time. So our translation here, just knocking out this first part. Meanwhile, at that time. And then we kind of get into our main clause, right? So Sulla, our subject. Sulla also etiam. And here's a bunch of people we don't really care too much about. Dardanos, Skordiscos, Dalmatas, et Maidos. So we have the Dardani, the Skordisci, the Dalmatai, and the Maidi, all tribes in this, sort of Asia Minor Greek area. Partim, this little adverb partim, little by little, okay, part by part. If you think about like verbatim, if you know something verbatim, you know it word for word. So partim, anytime you have that tim in the end, it means part by part, word by word. Weekit, right, third singular. Alios, in fidem, so a prep phrase here, in fidem with the accusative, acapit, third singular, perfect tense, right? So at that time, Sulla, my subject, weakit, Sulla conquered, Sulla defeated, Sulla also defeated, also conquered the Dardani, Skordisci, didn't spell that right, Skordisci, there we go, Dalmatai, and the Mighty. He defeated them partim, little by little, right? So the idea here is that he's moving through the territory, encountering these little tribes as he goes. So he defeated or conquered these, and literally acapit alios, he conquered those, and he took the others into faith, into allegiance. The idea here is when you accept someone into, you made an agreement with them, basically. He took others into an agreement, so basically he made a treaty. You might think of it in English. I will take the size down on that so you can read it. There we go. So as Mithridates from the previous is dealing with Athens, right? Sulla is conquering all of these neighboring tribes little by little. He's making his way through, and others he took into he made a treaty with, basically. So he's on the move. He's on the march. Said, right? But we have cum. We always ask ourselves, is this with cum or is this when cum? And because the next word is legati, particularly with that subjunctive verb looming with venusset, this is our cum clause, right? So, but when the legati a rege Mithridate, so that's just one big prep phrase there. Qui, so we get a relative clause here. Qui, pacem in the accusative, petebant, third plural imperfect. And then we have our third plural, big boy, pluperfect subjunctive. So Sulla is doing all of these things, but when the legati, when the ambassadors from rege, I know this is from King Mithridates and not by King Mithridates because there's no passive verb. So when the ambassadors from King Mithridates, qui, so we get a relative clause, who were seeking peace, seeking a peace treaty. When those ambassadors, Waynescent, arrived, and it's pluperfect, so technically when those ambassadors had arrived, or you might say instead of when, after the ambassadors from King Mithridates had arrived. Key here being this relative clause. It's going back to the ambassadors. I know it's going back to the ambassadors because it's a group of people who were doing something. So it's not Mithridates who was seeking peace, although technically, yeah. But grammatically speaking, it was the ambassadors who were seeking peace. So when those ambassadors had arrived, non aliter, so we have an adverbial situation here. Say in the accusative, daturum esse. So we have daturum esse with Sulla kind of sitting in the middle here. So you wouldn't expect Sulla to be in the middle here. You would kind of expect him to be outside of what we're dealing with. But don't be confused by that. It's still daturum esse. It's just that Sulla happened to find himself in the middle of that. So we have an accusative. Really what we have daturum esse is we have an infinitive. Sulla is my subject. Right? Esse is the other part of that infinitive, daturum esse. And then respondit here. Third singular perfect tense. So when those ambassadors arrived, or after those ambassadors had arrived, Sulla respondit. Sulla responded. Magic word when we have an accusative and an infinitive. He responded that. Se, he, meaning Sulla, responded that he, daturum esse, he would allow it, he would give, the idea here is peace, right? So he would grant peace, we might say. They were seeking peace. So there's really like a pacem here that's missing. He responded that he would give peace. Non aliter, no other way. Aliter means another way. So he would give peace no other way, in no other conditions, nisi, unless, and we'll clean this up when we go. He wouldn't give peace in any way other than, unless, if not, the king, Rex, meaning Mithridates, relictis his, quae occupaverat, we'll go back and talk about this grammar here, ad regnum suum redisset. So we have third singular, another pluperfect, big boy, pluperfect subjunctive. So we got to connect these two lines, right? These ambassadors arrive looking for peace. Sulla's response is, I'm not giving you peace. There will be no peace unless the Rex, unless the king, his relictis, with these things having been abandoned, these things which he had seized. So the things, and we can particularly tell here, and this actually is accusative, my bad. The things which he had seized, unless those things which he had seized, and when we say things, we're talking about kingdoms, we're talking about places, unless the king, with those things having been abandoned, those things which he had seized, the king needed to return red eo, to go back to his own kingdom. So there's no peace unless the king, and I'm going to save that ablative absolute for the end, unless there's no peace unless the king returns to his own kingdom his own kingdom with the territories which he had seized abandoned. And we'll go back through this English and see if we need to clean it up a little bit, because we probably do. Oops, can't grab my translation. There we go. All right, so we start with an indirect statement here. He responded that he would give, se datura massa, he would give peace, right? Why? Why? He would give peace. No way. In no way would he give peace unless, except if the king returned to his kingdom with the things he had seized having been abandoned. So we got a lot going on in this sentence. We have an indirect statement here in the first part. Then we have what's basically an if sentence. So a conditional, a negative conditional, if not, unless. And then we have an ablative absolute in there. So a lot going on in that sentence. And I'm happy to go back through it in class if you guys would like. And after that big, huge grammatical thing, you get this. Sometimes you just need a breather. So postea afterwards, nevertheless, ad colloquium ambo venerunt. Third plural, perfect tense. So nothing going on grammatically here. Nevertheless, afterwards, ambo, the two of them, so we could say maybe they both came ad colloquium. They came to, literally they came to a conversation. They came to chat. They came to a, how would we say this? Get my synonyms here. Yeah. I mean, that's basically what it is. They came to an agreement, we could say. Yeah, they came to an agreement. I like that. They came to an agreement. A co-talking. Right? What's up, K-Dog? So after that whole exchange with their ambassadors, they came to an agreement. Pax, which is in the nominative case. I'll make sure I'm not going too far. Now I gotta check your work. Now I'm paranoid that I went too far. Did I go too far? Nope, we're good. We go to reparaware. Okay. Awesome. Sweet. All right. So, pax inter eos ordinata est. So third singular, perfect passive. So we might say peace was established, was agreed upon. Peace was established inter eos, between them. Oh boy, red alert, we got a note clause. So peace was established. I don't have any special vocabulary in there that's leading me to believe that it's, you know, a result clause. So my brain is going to purpose here. So let's see how that works out. Utsula ad bellum civile festinan. So we have a participle here. Atergo, ablative. Periculum, accusative, non haberet. Third singular, imperfect subjunctive. So if this is a purpose clause, peace was established so that Sulla, utsula, so that Sulla, he's described here as festinan. So that's a present active participle. Don't you worry about it. A present active participle describing Sulla. So Sulla hurrying ad bellum civile, hurrying towards the civil war. So they make peace so that Sulla, hurrying towards the civil war, non haberet, so that Sulla does not have periculum, does not have danger, a tergo, from his back. Yeah, but this is recorded. So now everybody can watch it whenever they want. So why do both sides want peace? Well, Sulla is winning at this point, but he's more concerned about not having Mithridates at his back, right? He doesn't want Mithridates to be, watching him. All right. And of course, we continue on. Nam, I love this little word, nam, cause dum Sulla, while Sulla in Achaia, remember that's a part of Greece, in Achaia, Aquasia, Mithridatem in the accusative, and then Winkit. So when you have dum, right, which means while, even though this verb is present, the whole story is taking place in the past. So we're not going to say while Sulla is defeating Mithridates, we'll say while Sulla was. Because while Sulla, Winkit, was defeating Mithridates in Greece and Asia. So grammatically speaking, not a whole lot going on in that chunk, right? So while Sulla was basically taking it to Mithridates in Greece and Asia, right? He basically had the upper hand. What's happening back home? We get to Marius, and that gives us the name of the story. While Sulla is out on campaign, doing quite well against Mithridates, re-enter Marius. Qui fugatus erat, third singular, pluperfect, passive. And Cornelius Cinna, unus ex consulibus, this is how they would do partitives. Bellum, our accusative, in Italia, oops, reparaverunt, third plural, perfect passive. All right, so while Sulla was doing quite well against Mithridates over in the east, Marius, who, remember, fugare means to chase out. So with this passive here, Marius, who had been chased out way back, and his buddy Cornelius Cinna, unus ex consulibus, one of the consuls, bellum in Italia reparaverunt. Parare means to prepare, so reparare means to re-prepare, to renew, to bring back, brought back war in Italy. And that's the cliffhanger that we leave off on. So just a quick recap, particularly of the funky parts, right? So at that time, Sulla is making his way little by little through all of these tribes in Greece and Asia Minor. He's defeating some of them. Some of them he's just making an alliance with. He's just kind of making a treaty. You leave me alone and let me just march on through. But when these ambassadors from Mithridates, who were there to seek peace, when they arrived, right? Sulla's response, when Mithridates was seeking peace, was, there ain't gonna be any peace until you go back to where you came from, which is Pontus, right? Go all the way back to Pontus and leave behind all of these other territories, Paphlagonia, Bithynia, all of these other places that you have defeated. You need to leave them and you need to go home. Eventually, they come to an agreement. They come to a colloquium. They have a conversation, essentially, and they come to an agreement. And peace is made, some kind of a peace treaty, you might think. Not full peace, but a ceasefire, maybe. So there's peace between them. For what reason? For what purpose? So that Sulla, as he's going back to Rome to deal with civil war, he doesn't have an enemy at his back. So Sulla's got the upper hand, but he wants to make sure that he doesn't get sandwiched between Marius and Italy, and then all of a sudden Mithridates comes from the east. Because while Sulla is doing quite well in Greece and Asia, while he's defeating Mithridates in those places, Marius has come back, right? Marius, who had been chased out of Rome, and one of the consuls, Cinna, they decide they're going to bring back war in Italy. They're going to wage war. They're going to try to, and eventually succeed in, taking back the city. So Marius actually takes back Rome. He enters in Rome with an army, and he conquers the city, and we're going to see in the next part what he does while he's there. Okay, that's all I got. I'll see you guys tomorrow.